All right. Well, this is our third try to start our fourth episode. So welcome, Saranac Lake Effect Show, episode 4, take 3. We've got this. I'll take this as my fault. I'll take responsibility for it.
We're still trying to figure it out,
Yeah,
and we appreciate. Well, that's just how it goes, right?
I am a little tired.
Well, you should be.
I'm not going to blame my daughters, but I am going to blame my daughters for being very tired right now. So
yes. Well, you
right,
have that right. You take advantage of it while you can use that.
I'll ride as long as I can. So episode 4, we are going to do our little, like we've been talking about, revisiting village board meeting topics, picking a few here and there, quick summary of a topic or two, and then go on to our larger topic tonight. But before we get to that, we wanted to bring up the previous village board meeting we talked about in episode 3. They also started discussing the issue of short-term rentals.
Yes.
And that's an issue that is important across the country. It's been talked about for quite a while, and it's finally come here. Well, it's been here for a while, but now that the village is talking about some kind of regulations, permitting process around short-term rentals.
Right. And like any self-respecting media outlet, you find that hot button topic that gets the clicks. That gets the clicks, right?
And the likes
and the likes and the listens. Yeah. So here we are. Yeah. We're gonna ride out this STR discussion as long as possible. Not to get off subject too much, but there was a time when the rail trail debate and the amount of exposure the enterprise was giving it was just I couldn't keep up with the articles and the guest commentaries and the letters to the editor in every single direction.
Sure.
And I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, it was a really important topic. People were really passionate about every side of it. Well, and they just reported on it. And that's what we're doing.
We're doing. And we want the whole point of the show is topics we're passionate about the town.
Yes.
And short-term rentals being around here forever, not forever, but popping up. And we have in neighboring towns of Placid, people have seen what's happened with short-term rentals there. And so some people want a system, some people don't. We're not going to go into all the nitty-gritty of it, except to say that the town is trying to come up with some kind of a permitting system. And we will certainly in the future have a whole episode on short-term rentals where we hope to have guests discussing the issue.
Well, we keep promising it. So at some point we'll have to deliver on the dedicating the whole episode.
Yeah.
So what they talked about last week was they focused more on the registration system. So this is they want to put in place a registration system where anyone who is operating an STR right now in the village registers. They provide their contact info and some other data points about their STR so that the village has an understanding of who is operating STRs. That will be the first thing they do. And what they talked about is that if you register your STR, it may help you with the permitting or with the actual permitting, because the village will see that you had an operating STR before the regulations went into effect.
Right.
So that's the reason. I know they want to do it quickly. I'm not sure they have the registry live yet on the village website, but the message from the village board was this thing's going to go live and you need to register ASAP. They're not going to have it open for a long time. And then, because they've promised that they're going to release regulations after the new year, and we're almost
there.
It's the year is closing fast.
So, and the reason that, if we had to put it into one reason why the village decided they need to do this, is to have some kind of, so it's no longer the Wild West of short-term rentals. So they can't just pop up wherever they want.
Right.
And trying to balance, there's a housing issue here in town. It's a very nuanced issue. So we're not going to go into all the details of it, but there's obviously, if you've read it in the paper, there's some people who are concerned about it, some people who are in favor of us, people who don't know much about it. So we're going to learn along with everyone else what happens here. but it's certainly a topic that when we talk about Saranac Lake and the future of the village and where we're going and all the things we want, housing is important. And I think any kind of step towards trying to get a grip on the market and how many of them there are, where are they, sounds like a good idea to me. But
Well, I think if you're looking for some notion of where things are going, is that the entire village board is in favor of regulations.
Okay.
You know, they might have some discussions and debate about what those regulations are, but it seems pretty clear that all 5 of them are in support of having regulations for short-term rentals.
Sure.
So I think that's a sign of where this issue is at and where things are going to go. It's not an if, it's not an if, it's a how and when.
And I'll ask you this question. Maybe you can answer it, maybe you can't. Is there an idea we're moving towards where they figure out how many short-term rentals there are, and then there becomes a cap on how many are allowed to exist in the village? Is that a possibility, or is that it's an option they're thinking about?
That's an option they are thinking about.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay.
Having a cap, so you can't go over a certain number of STRs,
which is more incentive for folks who currently have them to register it as soon as possible and get that permit.
Correct.
That does. Okay.
You got it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are not going to talk about it anymore because we could, but let's wait until
wait till we're actually prepared.
More
and maybe we'll have a guest
or 2 on it, and maybe we'll and hopefully at that point we'll be getting many more comments in our inbox on everything we just said that was inaccurate. So, all right. But the purpose of not the purpose, but the main topic for tonight is Saranac Lake Sixer Challenge.
Yes.
So what is that?
Well, and we both have a lot of interest in talking about this.
Yeah.
We had it on our list, right? So we have a 40-page list of topics,
yep.
At least 40. And this was right near the top because we both have a lot of interest in it. So for those who don't know, the Saranac Lake Sixer program, it was established in 2013. We're going on a 10-year anniversary. And it was the idea of former Mayor Clyde Rabideau, and his idea was to create a challenge, a hiking challenge, akin to hiking all 46ers in the Adirondacks, but this would be 6 peaks surrounding Saranac Lake.
Right, because most of the 46ers are not very near here.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're doing the 46ers, it's often taking you pretty far away.
And they're serious hikes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Saranac Lake Sixers was meant to be much more accessible to people.
Yeah.
And I know that's one of the things that you like about it. Well, and me too, because we've been able to do some or all of them with our children.
Yeah.
Or some of our children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. When I first moved back in 2020 and COVID was very much making everyone nothing was happening indoors. So what can we do outside? Heard about the Sixer Challenge, and took my then 5-year-old, now 7, and she and I knocked it out in a few months.
That's great. Yeah.
So,
and she did it. Even Mackenzie. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So So the Sixer Challenge is Baker, which is right here in the village over by Moody Pond. You've got Haystack and Mackenzie. You've got Scarface, Ampersand, and St. Regis.
Right. You got it.
Yeah. So there they are. Those are the Sixers. And the challenge is essentially to just climb all 6. And once you climb all 6, you can go online and register and say you're now an official Saranac Lake Sixer. You can also do the Ultra Challenge, which is to do all 6 peaks in a 24-hour period.
Yep.
There's a summer and there's a winter Ultra.
Yeah.
And so Ava and I did all 6. And we climbed Ampersand. I was very unprepared for the difference between the temperature at the bottom and the top.
So you didn't read the website about being prepared for hiking?
No. Even though I grew up here, I was very much that person who just was like rocking a t-shirt and shorts. So we got to the top, and she was wearing like climbing pants, but then at the top you get, it's a huge, beautiful rock face.
It's open and windy.
It's open and very windy.
Right.
But also lots of spots where water can pool, and
Yep.
then if it's cold enough, it freezes. And so Ava, being the sensory seeking child she is, the first thing she does was she finds one of those little mini frozen lakes up there, and she jumps on top of it and goes right through the ice into about knee deep water.
Okay.
So now we're on top of ampersand and
Mhm.
probably 20-degree weather with no change of socks or boots.
The wind's blowing.
Wind's
It's
blowing.
Cold.
She's
Wow.
cold.
Yeah. Well, that can
So
get serious.
daddy fail there on that one.
Okay.
But I got her down, and she has 10 toes, so we're good.
And she loved it.
She had a great time.
Right.
Yeah. When we were climbed haystack, she ran off into the woods, and I didn't know where she went, and it made me nervous. And I heard her scream, "I just feel like I'm supposed to be here." And
Oh man,
it was one of my proudest moments as a dad. She was just
that's
in
awesome.
nature, and she had totally embraced it. And it's not easy for a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid. Those hikes, some of them aren't easy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
And I love doing it and seeing, different mountains we did. You'd see families going up, coming down, and almost every time they would say they were doing the 6er challenge.
Right.
Oh, how many have you done? Which one are you doing next? Oh, we like that one. That one's hard. So
there was a camaraderie
100%.
that developed with it. So I have to share a child story with one of the 6ers also.
Okay.
It was on Scarface, which is not my favorite peak to climb. It's not bad. There's some elements to it that are great, fine, but my son and I got to the top. There's no view or anything at the summit.
Just a little nice white sign.
So I think we had a snack or lunch or something and started to head back. Now he had forgotten this stick that he had found. And I don't know if he thought it was like Harry Potter's wand or if it was the shape of a gun. I don't know what it was, but he found the stick. He wanted it. He forgot it at the summit.
Okay.
So I ran back real quick to get it. And when I came back, he goes, "Dad, there's a bunch of rustling in the woods. I don't know what that was." I said, "Okay, well, that kind of thing happens." But then we just kept walking.
Sure.
About a minute later, I ran into 2 guys that were on the trail, and I knew one of them. And he goes, "Did you see the bear?" And I said, "No, no. We were walking up, and we kind of almost ran into the bear and spooked him, and he took off into the woods." So,
wow,
it was a bear that my son had heard, and everything was fine, obviously, at that point, but
what time of year
it was a little scary for me for a minute because I realized I had left him just for a couple minutes.
And then a bear came
to go
across.
Get his stick, and there really was a bear very close to him.
Wow.
But, that's
and
he's still here.
Yes.
He has 10 toes.
And you were looking for a stick that looked like a gun.
Yes.
When he was being attacked by a bear.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it all ironic?
What time of year was it?
It was, I'm pretty sure it was fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like near time where they might be going into hibernation?
Yeah,
or no?
I don't, I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Because he is a 6er now also.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
I had done Mackenzie. I've done Mackenzie who knows how many times, but his last peak was Mackenzie.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's last peak was Mackenzie.
Okay.
So we did Mackenzie together, and it was a lot of fun because granddad and grandson finished the 6ers together.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah.
And I did it with him, but I was already a 6er.
Yeah.
We went back and rang the bell and all that kind of stuff.
Can I ask you why you've climbed Mackenzie so many times?
Well, there's various reasons for it, but one of those reasons is because over the years, the village had the challenges.
Okay. Like what?
The events, like the hike, the 6er relay events.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right.
Right. So because I was at the village working at the village when the mayor created the program. So we helped him develop it.
Sure.
And we had several events, including the inaugural one, a winter one, and then it turned into a relay. And for all of those, we wanted some way to verify that someone had gotten to the top of each peak.
Okay.
So we actually put uh, boxes on each peak with a different shaped hole punch,
Okay. Oh, all right. All
and we
right.
had these fun little sixer cards,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you had to punch
Oh,
that you
nice.
had done
Okay.
that peak, and
Yeah.
you brought it back down and for evidence that you
Yeah.
had actually done it.
Okay.
So some buddies had to actually get those registers
Yeah.
and or boxes on top of each peak. So
And that was you.
I ended up doing Mackenzie quite a few times.
Because I asked because Mackenzie is of the Sixers is by far my least favorite. It's a beautiful it's a long hike and a nice hike. My issue with Mackenzie is that you, with a child especially, you reach the summit that you think is the summit, and
Yes.
they feel like they've done it, and then you go, hey, actually no, we have to traverse this whole side to the other
Right.
peak, and then the actual summit like Scarface is a there's no view.
False
So
peaks.
yeah, so
Yes. False summits,
it's
right?
a fun one to
Yeah.
do in winter. I will say that it's fun
Yep.
in winter because there's lots of places you can slip and slide and have fun. But not my favorite in the summer.
I was I was up there one time, and I don't remember why, but it was winter,
Hmm.
and ended up being there late in the I it was dark by the time I was descending,
Hmm.
and it was winter. It One of the things I like about Mackenzie is that on one side is Lake Placid,
Hmm.
on one side is Saranac Lake,
Sure.
and it really you can kind of see
Yeah.
how our communities are connected, and I don't know, there's something about it.
Yeah.
You're in this wilderness, but on either side are these amazing communities that
Hmm.
help make up the Tri Lakes.
Yeah.
Anyway, the alpenglow and just the lights from both villages at dusk when I was up there,
Hmm.
and the snows everywhere and all that. One of the most amazing experiences I've had
Mm, okay.
on top of an Adirondack
And were
peak.
you on your own?
I was on my own. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's my least favorite, but I still enjoy the peak.
Getting there sometimes, yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah,
not as
but it's a
right.
beautiful one to look at in terms of like looking. I love driving every day,
Yes.
driving and
Right.
looking across Lake Flower and seeing the peak is.
Right.
I love looking at it from that angle as opposed to climbing it. No,
So,
we did the. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, you go.
We did the winter
Okay.
ultra as well. Two buddies of mine on the first day of winter, so winter solstice, 2020. We said, all right, we're going to do this, and we had we didn't train for it. We just are all
Yeah.
people who try to stay somewhat in shape. And so we met at 2 a.m. At the Berkeley Green.
Oh, so you did it the right way.
We
Good for you.
We started there at 2 a.m.
Perfect.
Said, all right, 2 a.m. And then we went and we headed out. We did a Scarface first, up and down in the dark, and which is pretty easy. You know, you're feeling good. It's your first hike. You get up there. You don't care. There's no view because it's the dark. And then from there, we drove out and knocked out Haystack and Mackenzie, which we did that because if we can get through that, we'll be fine. Because we did Haystack. You do Haystack, and as you're climbing Haystack, as you know, there's that part where it forks on the right. You see that really tall vertical to take Mackenzie, and it's really fun to climb Haystack and not have to climb Mackenzie. But when you climb Haystack and you look at that, you know you got to climb back down and then go up. It's not so much fun. So we did that, and by that time the sun had come up, and then from there we drove out to the gas station in Raybrook, got some more supplies. We'd run through our supply of Gatorade Zeros and Cliff Bars and beef jerky, and then out
wow,
to
that's the breakfast of champions.
that's how we
right
did
there.
it. That's
Wow.
what powers you through. No Red Bull, no Monster Energies. And then we drove out to St. Regis, and by that time we started feeling it. So you hit the Winter Ultra Challenge is doing all 6 and 24 hours. So at that point we were feeling it, but you realize, okay, you've only got 2 left, and so then the choice became, all right, well, do we do ampersand and then Baker, or Baker then ampersand? We got to do ampersand first, because if ampersand is the last one to do, it's going to be really tough.
Yes.
So we did it, and that climbing up ampersand right before you get to the summit, where you kind of crawl through that spot with the big rock face. You're kind of crawling underneath it. You're just being guided by the light of your headlamp, and it's snowing. There's snow everywhere. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. But then getting up on top of ampersand, talk about windy and cold, and you're miserable and you're tired and everything hurts.
Yes.
And I didn't know my knees. I played sports. My knees never swelled, but this was, I mean, it was like I had 2 bowling balls.
And you still had to do Baker.
Still had to do Baker. So and me and my one friend, we were wearing spikes because it was
Okay.
icy. But the other guy with us he had ski poles and regular hiking boots, and he was like climbing down. He was just essentially skiing down the trail on his boots, which I was very impressed with. And we couldn't keep up with him. And he had to like leave this and get to a meeting that night. We were like, you planned a meeting for this night? Like, what are you talking about? So he did. He took off, went into town, and when we got to Baker, he was just coming down. We had plenty of time, so he did it, and then we went up, we got it done, and then we walked back to the Berkeley Green and rang the bell. It took us 18 and a half hours. So we started at 2 a.m. and we finished at 8:30, and then he went to his meeting, and my friend and I both went home, and each bought an Owl's Nest pizza and just ate the whole thing.
Ate the whole
darn thing.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what you do.
You deserve it.
Yeah. And then I don't think I walked for a week.
I did the ultra on day one when we had the inaugural event.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was crazy because it was basically a race.
Yeah.
And it was Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
And up on Mackenzie, it had snowed 6 inches.
Oh, jeez.
And everywhere else, I mean, it was so wet.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably wet. I was completely wet. I was getting hypothermia. I had to take a break.
Yeah.
Went home, took a shower, and ate chunky beef soup.
Okay.
And then went out and did the rest of it.
That's the lunch of champions. Okay.
And
so what time did you start? Did you start in the night or in the early?
What time did we start? 7 a.m. I think.
Okay. So
everybody started at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I think I got done. I don't remember what time I got done. Yeah. I think I'm not sure. I don't remember how long it took.
So we intentionally, I think people.
I mean, it was dark, but
yeah, some people think the winter is tougher, but I say the winter I think is almost easier because you eliminate the fly issue. There's no chance of bugs in the winter, which is very nice.
So we've talked about this now for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Great memories, all about friends and family who live here. And I think that's awesome. It's something that a lot of people who live here have done and enjoy. But we haven't even talked about the Sixer program as a tourism and economic development program.
Well, that's what I love is you can go online and you can see the list of people who have done it. And when I was looking, it was so awesome to see people from all over. I mean, because you can list your hometown. And seeing all the different people. So to me, when I saw that, it wasn't just as fun as it is, and as much as I love doing it with my kid, and I'll do it with the rest of my kids when they're old enough. Realizing that very thing. Oh my! Look how many people and the comments people left, like and you know, and the pictures they put up because you can also upload a picture of every peak you're at, and so that was really impressive to me. That it was also something that was bringing in a lot of tourism.
Well, and there's all these people who, as hikers, became aware of the program and did it and discovered Saranac Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of its purposes. And we thought a lot about some of the aspects when we were helping the mayor create the program. And one of them was where to place. He wanted to have the bell that you ring after you do all 6. So where do you put that? Somebody had to decide where to put that. Can you guess why it is where it is in the band shell at Berkeley Green? Do you have any ideas?
I mean, does it because it forces you to go to the middle of downtown?
Exactly.
Okay, nailed it. Okay.
Yes, nice work. You didn't even have to.
I know all about this stuff. I know all about this.
Well, no, I mean,
okay.
So the reason I bring it up is because everything is planned.
Yeah. Well thought.
Not everything is planned, but there should be a reason for things.
Everything was intentional.
And in this case, everything was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
A Sixer, it was supposed to raise awareness of Saranac Lake.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to take advantage of these peaks that surround the village.
Yep.
But the mayor wanted it to benefit the village and the businesses in the village.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been easy to have the Sixer bell, I don't know, at Mount Pisgah or I don't know, in the parking lot at St. Regis Trailhead or something.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these people could come and yeah, they'd pass through the village and this and that and the other thing, but really they don't have to have any connection to it. By putting it in Berkeley Green,
Mhm.
we're forcing everybody to come to the center of our village, to the center of downtown,
Yep.
get out of your car, because you can't just pull up to it and
Yeah.
roll the window down and ring the bell and discover downtown after you've been out in the woods. And
Yeah.
these are peaks that surround the village. It's not like they're all in the village.
Right. Yeah.
So that was all done on purpose. The
Mhm.
other thing that we tried very hard to do was to uh, allow businesses to take advantage of the program. So Grizzle Teas had a little thing you could do as, a Sixer related
Yeah. Yeah.
incentive
Mhm.
you could do. And Bare Essentials
Yeah.
had, it still
All the
has
gear you can
all the
buy.
gear, right?
I still have not brought my daughter into that store
Well,
because she thinks that the only people that can wear those shirts are people who have done the Sixer challenge.
okay. Christmas is coming and you better get on it.
Oh, she has a shirt.
Oh, okay.
She has the shirt.
Okay.
But if she sees that anybody that wants to
Oh,
can
I
walk in
see.
she
got
thinks
it.
that like when she completed the
I got
challenge,
it.
they sent her the shirt.
Okay.
They're like, hey, you this
We'll
is your
let
trophy.
we'll let
Yeah,
that go
yeah.
for a while then.
So
yeah.
if you ever listen, honey, I'm sorry.
Right.
But
Well, but all that was done on purpose
Yeah.
in order to try to do what one of the original purposes was to use these peaks, use our natural resources
Mhm.
to bring attention to our amazing little village.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a hiking challenge for the purpose of hiking.
Right.
And I think there's been a lot of other hiking challenges that have, the 46ers is the original
Sure.
and still the grandfather of them all,
Right.
but there's now a lot of
Well, yeah, you have but again, we said when we started, the 46ers are also not very near here, almost all of them. And yeah, so after the SL Sixers was created, you've also, I don't know who came first, but you had the Tupper Lake Triad,
the Lake Placid
Niners.
Nine.
So yeah,
and there's some in other parts of the region,
right.
But none of them focus as much on driving people into the village.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, because especially the Tupper Lake Triad.
That's why it was done.
Yeah, the Triad, you go and you're way out of town and you can knock all three out and you just never have to go through town.
Right.
So yeah, I wasn't aware. Well, I guess I should say it makes sense that everything was intentional, and that I wonder, has there been any way to measure what foot traffic is driven? But
that's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But what I have said to people is that I'm in the economic development business.
Yep.
And governments at all levels in the United States spend tons of money on different programs to spur economic development and job creation and business development, just insane amounts of money with limited ability to really measure the effects.
Sure.
And dollar for dollar, the amount of money the village has spent on creating and running the Sixer program.
Yeah,
it's the best dollar for dollar, the best economic development program I've ever seen.
Yeah, because what are the costs? We didn't build the mountains. We just said, hey, that one.
Plus, people pay $15 in order to register.
And say you're
right.
a Sixer.
So the village actually made money off of it. Right.
Perfect. Yeah.
So that's all great, and it would always be something special to me that I was able to participate and help create it and everything. It wasn't my idea. The mayor came up with it, but to implement it was a lot of fun and very rewarding for all the reasons we talked about. However, more recently, the attention that has come not just to the Sixers, but to peaks in the Adirondacks in general has started to get some attention, right? And it's not all positive. Just it's this question of overuse,
right?
And the role of the Sixer program in overuse on those peaks has been something that people are starting to pay attention to and ask questions about.
Sure. And I would say that's in my opinion, I would say that's a good problem to have, because if you have too many people coming here to use the peaks, well, you've got a good problem. People are here. The alternative is that no one's here. And not that if the Sixer challenge was gone, nobody would come. But the point is, it brought people here. So now you have a new issue to address, a unforeseen consequence of too much foot traffic, having to deal with trail maintenance, things like that. But we can do that. We can think of solutions to that. And
right.
the answer is not to remove the Sixer program.
What part of the debate is how much overuse is created by the Sixer program versus just the overall increase in interest in the Adirondacks.
Right.
Nobody really knows that.
And how much was, especially the last few years with COVID, how
Yes,
much traffic
right.
was driven here because of
Yes.
that, which we know
Yeah.
was a lot. And I would say too, thinking about, so is there a negative consequence? Sure. But also I'm going to bring it back to, you did it with your son, did it with my daughter. For those of us who live locally or people who don't live locally that want to introduce their kids to the outdoors, it's one thing to go for a hike around a pond, which is very nice. You can do that. But children often want more excitement, more adventure. And at a young age, you can take kids to do this. And if you're an adult that loves hiking, it's a way to show this to your children. With some challenges for them where they can feel proud of themselves.
A challenge, goal setting.
Yeah.
There's something at the end.
So much to learn.
They get a patch. You can buy them a T-shirt.
So it's, to me, it's one of my favorite, since I've moved back, it's one of my favorite aspects of living here is that challenge.
So maybe from that angle, right? Maybe it's one of these quality of life things that can help attract and retain residents.
Sure.
Beyond it being just a visitor attraction activity or challenge, it's actually something that's made your life better as a new, well, I mean, you grew up here, but you're recently moved back, rediscovered resident, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's an interesting way to look at it. We didn't, when we started out with it, it really was, let's bring attention to this village. And that's why we did all the things we did. I went running around or jogging, depending on what your definition of the speed between, what's the threshold of speed between jogging and running?
I don't like doing either of them, so I can't tell you.
Either way, it was just this other day. It was 4:30 at night. It's December.
Sure.
There's no snow. I think it was raining. It's not really like, who wants to be around right now? We need the snow.
Right.
There were 5 cars parked at the Baker Mountain Trailhead.
Yeah. I don't think I've gone by there and not seen a car at the trailhead. Yeah.
And I didn't stop to see, I mean, they were all New York license plates.
Sure.
I mean, often you'll go and there's license plates from all over the place. And are some of those people doing the Sixer challenge? Absolutely. Are some not? Absolutely. Who knows, right? I don't think in the dark, basically the dark, 4:30 on a Monday night in December in the rain, there were any of those people were doing the Sixer challenge.
Right.
I think those were all locals enjoying Baker Mountain because it's a short, close, accessible hike.
Well, use the word accessible, and I would add to it too, bringing it back to our first episode. We talked about the lakes and trying to think of ways that we can make the lake more accessible for people. I think when you think about from an economic standpoint, hiking is a relatively inexpensive activity, and you don't have to pay to go up those mountains. You need very little gear to hike, and so that's another reason to me to finding ways to give people to do recreational things. And if a family's moving here and they want to do some stuff with their kids that, there's no line to wait in. I mean, sometimes the mountains get busy. You can choose. So I'm going to go to a different one today. And you can do it. You can go to Haystack and go, let's go to Scarface instead.
Right.
You can make that choice. So yeah, I think everything has unintended consequences. Trail maintenance is not something to take too lightly, but it can be done. And I think for me, it's one of the, again, I've loved it and I've done it with one shot. I look forward to doing it with the other 3.
So let me ask a question. Did you hear about the recent changes the village board made to the program?
I did hear that well, this is when they were discussing about taking Baker off of it and possibly moving it to a different location,
Right.
which they didn't do. They
Thank
kept it at Baker,
goodness.
yes, because
Right.
the one thought of making it Mount Pisgah, which I did not like at all. But also the you have something with, was it where the bell moved, or you have to start?
So
Oh,
you
that's what it
now
is. If you
you can't
climb Baker,
park. Yeah,
if
you
you
have
climb
to
Baker, you have
start
to start at the
at
bell.
the bell.
So if you want to say
Right.
you did Baker as part of the
Yes.
Sixer Challenge, you basically have to park downtown
Yes.
and start at the bell
Yeah.
and walk over to Moody Pond
Right.
and climb Baker, which
Which
lends more to your
the purpose,
downtown.
yes, it does. And the purpose was to relieve the pressure of parking and
Yes,
illegal parking
right.
on or at Moody
Because it
Pond
can get,
on Forest
yeah,
Hill Avenue.
neither of us
Right.
live on that area,
Yeah.
but it can get, I've certainly seen it there where it's out of control. There's just a lot of vehicles over there.
Yes.
So to me, that was a common sense solution to, hey, we have a problem. What can we do to fix it without just blowing up the program?
Right. That's what I liked about it. And hopefully that makes a difference, because of all the reasons we've talked about. It's become something special, and it would be unfortunate to see it go. I mean, maybe it's had its time. I don't think it has, but
well, and also maybe the best thing there for the Sixer Challenge is someone can go, okay, they can save Baker for the end and say, I'm going to park downtown, I'm going to walk and do it.
Yeah.
And then when I walk back to my car, I'm going to stop by Bear Essentials and get my shirt or my sticker or whatever I want to do. So it all makes sense to me. And
the other thing that was identified in the change was, and this is something that should have happened, that could have been done better sooner, is that all the proceeds from registrations are to go back into trail stewardship and trail maintenance.
Sure.
Which I think is a great way to kind of give back.
100%.
So, and we did early on, we did actually coordinate a trail day with DEC where we invited anyone who was a Sixer or interested to come up for a Saturday, and DEC personnel actually had crews of Saranac Lake Sixer fans out doing some trail maintenance, and it was fun. Cool. It was a lot of fun. It was a few, I don't remember what year that was, but I think the changes were, like you said, good compromises to try to address some concerns.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, we've talked about some good memories, and we're not even visitors.
No,
and like you said, you can read the comments out on social media of what it's meant to people and how they've discovered Saranac Lake as a result.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, of you mentioned all the initiatives, all the money that government spend. I mean, bang for your buck with the Sixer Challenge seems like it's be hard to match. So
hard to match. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, I think did we do it?
Well, we could go on and on.
We could go on and on,
and maybe we revisit it someday. Somebody likes what we said or is upset about it.
Well, that's kind of the goal.
Revisit.
Is that we have, as you mentioned, we have a 47-page Google Doc of ideas of topics, but the idea is eventually we're getting comments from people of maybe there's something that one of us said that somebody comments on, and then that becomes an episode.
Yeah, we follow that. We follow that thought.
That thread. Yeah.
Follow that thread.
Go off trail.
Right. I think we should close with just a reminder, housekeeping.
Yep.
Right. So you can find us on Facebook, and you can also email us at saranaclakeeffectshow@gmail.com. All comments are appreciated, and thanks for listening.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time for episode 5.